Thanks, Laz. You could write a new song every week. That'll be just fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the topic today is Love Heals All Things. The source material that I used for this is the Course in Miracles, The Way of Mastery, and the work of Dr. David Hawkins. And so the question is, what is love? Well, the Course tells us that love cannot be taught. It can be experienced, but it really can't be taught. But for those of you who share my logical left-brainness, an analogy might be an omnipresent energy field that is all of the wonderful thoughts that can possibly exist. Peace, joy, prosperity, all of those things are wrapped up in this energy field. And it's said, it actually even says it in the Bible, that God is love. God is not a being, but God is love. And that is a wonderful analogy, because we who spend a few years as card-carrying atheists do not appreciate the anthropomorphic view of God as a man with a white beard sitting on a throne somewhere ruling the universe. That simply doesn't work for most of us. But it is an energy field that is everywhere present. And another definition of love is freedom, complete freedom. Infinite unconditional love grants freedom to all beings to be who they choose to be. Because if you don't grant that freedom, then it's imposing conditions. And conditions are antithetical to unconditional love. So, guess what? Freedom is part and parcel of this thing called love. It's said, particularly in the Way of Mastery, that love embraces all things, allows all things, trusts all things, and thereby transcends all things. So you might have a little difficulty by saying, I'm going to allow all things, because there are some things that I just don't want to allow. But in order to be infinite, unconditional love, you have to simply say, someone is behaving in a way that doesn't seem appropriate, and I know that they're just unaware of who they really are. And that's sometimes a great leap. A great leap must be taken in order to say they simply are unaware. Unawareness is not a sin. It's not a crime to be unaware. It simply is what it is, unawareness. So what ends up blocking our awareness of love's presence is our thinking process, our thoughts. It's as effective at blocking the awareness of love's presence as it would be if I took a rubber band and wrapped it around my finger. And after a few moments, the finger would begin to change color. It might go dark first, and then it would go all white. And what would happen as soon as I took the rubber band off, the life force would flow back to my finger. The life force would not say, oh, you naughty boy, you cut me off. I'm gonna withhold my gift to your finger just to prove to you that I'm the one. That doesn't happen. That simply does not happen. What happens when a being chooses to become aware of the presence of love is that love flows through them completely. It's like opening up the pipeline. It's like turning on the roto-rooter and cleaning out the pipeline so that love can flow unimpeded. And that happens when what? We change how we see the world. We change how we think. The Course says, love holds no grievances. When I have released all of my grievances, I know that I am safe. So it's our thinking that literally clogs up that pipeline of our access to divine love. And that's what we're talking about. That energy field is divinity itself. And when we think unpleasant thoughts, when we are judgmental, angry, believe in our littleness, believe in our unworthiness, all of those things are negative thoughts that impede our ability to send love, to impede our ability to be aware of the fact that we are love. It's not just an energy field, it's the core of our essence. That is who and what we are. We are love personified, and we are divine love. And all that is left for us to do is to become aware of that and to extend it in all ways, in all things, in all situations, knowing that we are safe because we've given up our grievances, knowing that life is eternal, that we are much grander than this physical bag of bones that we carry around and call a body. That is not us. That is not who we are. Who and what we are is an infinite, magnificent being, a soul that has been granted this impossibly beautiful magnificence. That's what we are, and as soon as we recognize it, the instant we take off the rubber band of our stinking thinking, love flows. It flows through us, it flows out through us, and it brings peace, joy, and prosperity to those who are around us, because it is an energy field in itself. Each being has its own energy field that can be calibrated. Dr. Hawkins was knighted for his work in human consciousness, and he's done hundreds of thousands of these muscle tests to prove the truth of the fact that that energy field can be calibrated for each individual being. And it's based on their thinking, their consciousness, and it has a numerical value. And guess what? On that scale of 0 to 1,000, love begins at 500. And unconditional love begins at 540. And healing takes place in that kind of an energy field. Strangely enough, the 12-step programs have been calibrated as a program, as a process, at 540. And that, my friends, is the reason that people who participate in 12-step programs and immerse themselves in an energy field, go to a meeting and sit at a table that has an energy field that surrounds it of 540, follow the suggestions, and you're probably going to heal yourself because you're in the presence of that energy that allows you to change how you see yourself. And that, of course, is the key. How you see yourself is the thing that stands in the way of your infinite, unconditional, loving gift to the universe. Dr. Hawkins said that the single most important thing that any human can do for the good of the earth is to raise their own consciousness level, because it simply increases the energy field, the vibrational rate of an energy field of the world. And the more people who vibrate at a higher level, the less strife, the less grief, the less disease that there will be. How do you access the source? How do you access this field? Basically, you have to get out of the way. You have to drop your negative thinking, seek conscious contact with the divine, do prayers and meditations, and be interested in the outcome. Become interested in your own consciousness level. Become aware that you have an opportunity to tune yourself in to this infinite field of amazingly wonderful love, magnificence. So the question then becomes, so how does love actually heal? Well, a couple of stories. The first is about the magic kiss. And no, I'm not talking about the one that woke up Sleeping Beauty. I'm talking about the one that every parent gives to the child who's just fallen and scraped their knee and their nose. And the parent says, "Let me kiss it and make it feel better." And guess what? It does. It happens. And it's not the kiss, it's the love. Because that kiss is given in an energy field of unconditional love. The parent doesn't care about whose fault it was, whether it happened this way or that way. The parent just simply says, "I love you. Let me hold you in my arms and let you feel better." And guess what? It does. It does feel better, and healing begins. Because that child is in a place where love is present. And there's a place in each of us that's very similar. The Course says there is a place in you where there is perfect peace. There is a place in you where nothing is impossible. And there is a place in you where the strength of God abides. And that place is within you. And it's up to you to open up your access to that very place. The other story is one I've used before. It's a story of Anita Moorjani, who was a young woman of Indian descent who was living in Hong Kong and had grown up as a people pleaser and never knowing who she was supposed to be. Her parents were Hindu. Her nanny was Chinese. She went to a Catholic school and never fit in. She was a square peg in a round hole. And after a number of experiences, she came down with lymphoma and had struggled with that, opted for alternative treatments, and was very ill. In fact, she checked into a hospital one night, and the oncologist said, "I don't think you're going to live," told her husband, "I don't think she'll live through the night. She's at stage 4B, and her organs are beginning to shut down." During the night, she had a near-death experience. And what happened to her was that she went across the divide and had an experience of understanding who she really, really was. She had a conversation with her father, who had been dead for 10 years, and he had an experience of expressing his unconditional love for her. And she came to the realization that she had never really experienced that before. She understood that she was a magnificent soul and that she was simply restricting herself. And when it was all said and done, she came back to life, knowing that she had a mission and knowing that she would heal herself. And the next afternoon, she woke up and began talking with her family. And the doctor who had expirated some liquid out of her lungs during the night came in, and she said to him, "Oh, Dr. Chan, it's nice to see you." And Dr. Chan said, "Wait a minute, you were in a coma. How do you know who I am?" And so within a week, her tumors had reduced 70%, and she ultimately made a complete recovery. And people all over the world, doctors, oncologists, have flown to Hong Kong to look at the medical records of this woman who was just incredibly lucky to have had a complete remission of end-stage lymphoma. And the point of that is that what she realized during this near-death experience was that she was a magnificent, powerful, spiritual being, and that she had every right to be who she chose to be, not who her parents expected her to be, not who the Indian community expected her to be, not what her husband expected her to be, but to be herself, to be the love that she was. And that is what makes all the difference in the world, is who you think you are and what you believe about yourself and your access to this divine energy field. And the tumors disappeared practically overnight. And she's alive and well, and I think still living in Hong Kong. I'm not sure about that today, given the political situation, but that is an amazing story, and it's how it works. That's not to say that everybody is going to live forever. Of course not, because our bodies are protoplasm, and at some point it wears out. But it doesn't have to wear out at the age of 38, which she was. So it's up to you. It's up to you to become aware of the fact that you are an infinite, powerful, magnificent spiritual being, and that you are in charge of the ship called your eternal life. You get to direct it. You get to choose what thoughts find a home in your mind, and it's up to you to make those decisions. So one of the things that's amazing to me is to find this synchronicity between a 700-year-old writing by Rumi and The Course in Miracles, which was written between 1968 and 1968 and 1965 and 72. It was a 7-year period. So as I said, the Course says your mission is to remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. And I want to close with this quote from Rumi. This is what he said in 1260, excuse me. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So there you go. It's your job. It's your barrier. It's your block to the awareness of love's presence. So it's up to you to remove it. And that's what I think today. Namaste. It's your turn.